Welcome to Shannons Club TV, the show for all motoring enthusiasts to share a blast from the past on Australian roads and racetracks.
In each episode, we offer a unique perspective on our feature car's performance on the road and in competition. We'll also take a road trip with a proud owner and get current news from the Shannons auctions team.
Right now though, the four-cylinder cars that brought a new front-engine focus to a famous rear-engine brand, the Porsche 924, 944 and 968.
The 924 was Porsche's first front-engine car released in 1976. It was beautifully built, but some pesky journalists complained about the modest performance from the VW van engine, the hard ride and the very plain interior. Interestingly, the Porsche publicity people seemed delighted to acknowledge the 924's Volkswagen Audi origins. After all, said the press release, one must remember that Dr. Porsche created the 356 from VW parts. With the 924, we return to his original concept. Does that sound like spin? Already the 928 was much rumoured. As far as Porsche management was concerned, the 928 would soon replace the 911 and would make a perfect partner for the relatively inexpensive 924. This was to be Porsche's future for the 1980s and beyond. Rear engines were to be a thing of the past, but Porsche customers quickly formed a different view. The 924's shortfall in power was remedied in 1979 when the turbo variant arrived. Maximum power jumped from a barely acceptable 125 brake horsepower to 170. Mark, did the 924 give Porsche a more affordable entry into motorsport?
Well, it certainly did at club level, but I think of more importance to Porsche at the time was it was going to be the starting platform for its Carrera GT concept, because at the time they were planning a future in motorsport with front-engine cars.
Of course,
so this
they were.
This was a very important starting point, which I'll cover in more detail a bit later on.
Terrific. The Porsche 944, which arrived in 1982, looked like a much more muscular and purposeful 924, a real Porsche, rather than a car which had been destined to carry an Audi or even a Volkswagen badge. It got a new four-cylinder engine which, in simple terms, was half a 928's 4.7 litre V8, although no important parts were interchangeable. The 1988 944 Turbo S was seriously fast, with a 13.9 standing quarter mile and top speed of 261. The 968, which went on sale here in 1993, was effectively an all-new car. Local buyers had the choice of the standard coupe at $139,990 or the racing-focused Club Sport for $20,000 less. By comparison, the least expensive 911 was $179,200. In summary, all these four-cylinder, front-engined Porsches deliver some of the Mark's magic. But while the 924 had its origins as a Volkswagen sports car, the 968 Club Sport was a thoroughbred Porsche in every sense and highly desirable in the company's Rennsport tradition. Mark, the front-engine Porsches have a memorable history in Australian motorsport, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do. And at the top level, it included both racing and long-distance rallying. The front-engine Porsche 924 succeeded in attracting a new type of buyer alongside the legendary rear-engine 911, but it was never designed with racing in mind. The fact that the 924 and its 944 and 968 successors did compete is a testament to the German Mark's "race what we sell" philosophy. Under Ernst Fuhrmann's leadership in the 1970s, Porsche was moving away from the 911 to a front-engine future, so development of competition versions of the 924 became a priority. A number of factory race cars were trialled in the Le Mans 24-hour, starting with a solid performance by a trio of 924 Carrera GT prototypes in 1980. A batch of Carrera GTR customer cars soon followed, which prompted local Porsche distributor Alan Hamilton to back a green and gold Spirit of Australia entry at Le Mans in 1981, shared by Peter Brock, Colin Bond and Jim Richards. Sadly, it did not make the start due to a gearbox problem. But by then, new Porsche management had reactivated race development of the 911, and the front-engine cars were reassigned to more of a club sport role in which they excelled. John, Le Mans in 1981 also saw the factory race a very exotic prototype with a new Porsche-designed engine and styling which really was a teaser to the 944 road car that was to be released later. I mean, motorsport has always been part of their product development DNA, hasn't it?
Well, look, just think about it now with in Australia and worldwide with the Porsche Carrera Cup. I mean, no other marque I can think of, even Ferrari, goes to such lengths to prove its road cars on the racetracks.
Yeah.
It's Porsche DNA, absolutely.
And I remember their ads even for that car that they ran at Le Mans in 1981. I remember the wording was, before we start production on a car, it's already finished. So they were saying, here's the race car from Le Mans in 1981, and here's the 944 years later. So they were very proud of that history.
Yes, and it's a very good way for them to do business.
Yeah, for sure. The front-engine Porsches wrote their own chapter in Australian motorsport history, starting with a gritty top 10 finish in the 1979 Repco Round Australia trial by a very determined German two-man crew in a works-prepared 924. Colin Bond also drove a 924 Carrera GTR to third place in the 1982 Australian GT Championship after Alan Hamilton had reconfigured the car with a larger 2.5-litre Porsche engine and other changes to suit local rules. And in the early 1990s, the 968 Club Sport provided spirited competition for Mazda's twin-turbo RX-7s in the annual Bathurst 12-hour production car race, but never quite managed to topple the dominant Japanese cars on the mountain. Remember to join the Shannons Club, where you can connect with other enthusiasts around the country.
My name is Jason Pascoe. We're looking at here is a 1988 944S in Guards Red, a beige interior. I've had the car now just over 12 months. I purchased the car from the second owner who lived in Sydney. It'd been sitting there, it hadn't been driven over 6 years. Only got 100,000 kilometres on it. It's a rare S. Only 39 of these come into Australia. I thought it was too good to be true, so I flew up to Sydney, had a quick look, and it was what it was. All the numbers matched, and it had a full deal service history in the books. The car is still completely original with its original paint, original interior. Everything's original about the car. We drained all the fluids, all the oils, every fluid on it, and just basically did a major service, changed all the belts and everything on it, and hit the key, and it just started up like it had just been started yesterday. At the time, twin cam was a step forward back in those days, and a lot of power, a lot of low down torque. Being a 2.5 litre, you can be in any gear and just push down the throttle and off it goes really nice and hard. Why they're so good is engine in the front, transmission in the back, evenly balanced. They ride and drive unbelievably well, even for a car that's 30 years old, nearly 30 years old. The real passion started back in 2001 when I started actually working for Porsche and working with the engineering people who build the cars. You know that the best has been put into it, it's second to none. And once you've owned one of these and you see how they do it, why they do it, you'll never go back to anything else.
Well, Chris Borrabon, the Shannons National Auctions Manager, joins us to talk about the front-engine Porsches. Welcome to the show, mate.
Hey, Mark. Hey, John.
Welcome, Chris. Front-engine Porsches, to a lot of people, that's almost a contradiction in terms.
That's right.
And how are they holding up, the 924, 944 and 968?
Look, I've always looked at the front-engine Porsches as a great entry-level cars. You know, the 968 is probably the model that's really kept its value up there. And again, that's probably because the 968, you know, speaking to a lot of race drivers over the number of years, have said it's probably one of the best handling front-engine Porsches you can buy.
Well, they brought out a special Club Sport edition,
That's
which
right,
was
yep.
$20,000 cheaper, and it was fantastic to drive.
Yeah, great car, and especially with the MO30 handling options and things like that, it was just an incredible car.
So why do you say this is the best sort of entry-level Porsche? Is it just because all the prices are lower than you're going to pay for the 911?
Correct. I think, you know, when you look today where the 911 prices are and where they've got to, it does make the 924, 944 and 968 variants really an appealing entry-level car. Yep.
And where does the original 924 sit in all of that? I mean, desirability-wise, there was certainly an attitude amongst Porsche enthusiasts when the 944 came out. They said, "Finally, this is a full-on, 100% Porsche." They tended to dismiss those earlier models. Has that changed over time?
Probably not. I mean, I think we weren't fortunate to get probably the right 924 models here.
We got a very basic one,
very basic one.
Yeah.
So whereas in Europe, you had your
Carrera
GTs, and and that's really what brings the money in collectability value today.
Yeah.
The 944 is probably a really good car. I mean, it handled better. It probably had a lot more over the 924.
Looked crisper, looked neater too. Yeah.
So today, I think that's it's a really great entry level point car, a car you can have fun with. You can get that in a turbo variant. You can get that in the S2 cabriolet version as well if you choose to. But it's there's a good mixture there.
So given those front engine Porsche price levels are staying fairly static, the advice would be you've got to get a good car to start with, don't you? Like
Correct.
ownership history, low K, service history. That's really important because I can't imagine doing a ground up resto on this car is going to pay off.
Yeah, look, on a 924 and 944, it's probably not a car that today currently you would do a ground up resto on. So,
and the best way to buy one, I'm thinking, would be through one of the Porsche owners clubs, wouldn't it?
yeah, potentially. I mean, there is the opportunity to find it there, but there is also lots in the classifieds.
Sure.
At times we've had some great 944s come up at auction as well. So yeah, keep a lookout on what's out there. But I think, as you mentioned, the right history, the right servicing history. Try and find one with low to middle Ks. That's probably the advice.
And not too many owners, not too many track days.
That's exactly right. Yep.
That's great advice. Thanks, Chris.
No problem.
And remember, you can get all the latest Shannons Auctions news on the Shannons Club website. If you'd like your own image of the Porsche 924, 944 and 968 in competition, visit AutoPic's incredible motorsport archive. John, looking back on the front-engine Porsche era, interesting, wasn't it? Because they went on this diversion, they came away from it, and they never really went back, I think, until we saw the SUVs.
Well, you say it was an era. It was almost a chapter, and a much shorter one than Porsche had envisaged, because as far as they were concerned, the future was front-engine cars, but the buyers had a totally different opinion. And I can't think of a stronger example in automotive history of where the buyers determined the future of a company.
Yeah, they really did. I remember reading about the determination of the new management there when they saw the line on the life chart of the models, the 911 stopping. The guy just got up and got his texter and just kept drawing the line and said,
"While ever I'm here."
Exactly. We will never stop making the 911. And that's the way it worked out.
Looks like they never will.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we hope you've enjoyed reflecting on this fascinating chapter of the front-engine Porsches. We look forward to your company next time on Shannons Club TV. Bye for now.